Actually, the next skill we're going to present is changing a fraction to a decimal. Changing a fraction to a decimal. In the last lesson, we learned how to change a decimal to a fraction, but this is changing a fraction to a decimal. But to do that skill, we have to know how to do long division. Now, I know you probably do know how to do long division, or it's been such a long time that you've actually worked long division by hand that you may have forgotten the steps. So what I'm going to do is give input on how to teach, on how to solve long division problems. If you already know long division, if you already know how to do it, then just shut off the DVD and come up and see me and tell me, and then we'll just move on to the next lesson. We'll skip this lesson. But if you're not clear on how to do long division, then why don't you get a piece of pencil and paper, get a piece of paper and a pencil, make sure it's a Dixon Ticonderoga, by the way, and then I'll give you an input on how to do long division. So put the DVD on pause and get yourself a pencil and paper, and if you already have that, then we'll continue. Okay, now there are basically 5 steps in doing long division, and these steps remain the same. You just continuously follow them. First thing you do is divide. Second thing you do is multiply. Third thing, subtract. Fourth thing, bring down. Fifth, if there's anything left over, you start over again, which means you go back up and you divide again. Now, let's take an example. Let's say 6 divided into 126. 6 divided into 126. Well, the first thing I do is I divide. Question becomes, divide what into what? Well, this is the divisor, so anytime I'm dividing, it's always by this number. So it's always by the number that's outside the division sign. So I want to divide 6 into 1. Well, 6 cannot go into 1 because 6 is bigger than 1. So then I combine it and I'll say, how many? I'm going to divide 6 into 12. So how many times will 6 go into 12? Well, it'll go 2 times. And where do I put that 2? Well, I don't put it here because it wouldn't go into the 1, but it goes into the 12, so I put it right above that. Okay, so I did my division. Now my next step, I multiply. Question becomes, what do I multiply? What times what? Well, you always multiply the last number you just put up here by the divisor. So 2 times 6 gives me 12. So now I've done the second step. Now the third step, I subtract. What do I subtract? Well, I subtract here from there. Well, 12 take away 12 gives me 0. Now, next step. Is there a number to bring down? Yes, there is. So I bring the number down. Bring down to 6. And since there was a number to bring down, then I start over again, which means I divide. Now again, divide what into what? Well, we know I always divide this into something, and I divide this into the last number that we put down here. Well, 6 divided into 6, 6 divided into 6 will go 1 time. So now I've done my division. Now I multiply. Multiply what times what? Well, you multiply always the last number that was put up here by the divisor. 1 times 6 is 6. So now I multiply, now I subtract. 6 to take away 6 is 0. And there is nothing to bring down, so the problem is done. So I have completed the problem. So if you can follow these steps, divide, multiply, subtract. After you subtract, can you bring down something? And if you can bring down something, then you start over again by dividing. We'll do a couple of more problems. Okay, here's our problem. 7 divided into 931. By the way, if I were you, I would take a pencil and paper, and I would work this problem as I'm working it, so you get practice in just going through the steps. Okay, so we know our first step. We have to divide. Divide what into what? Well, we want to divide 7 into 9. Will 7 go into 9? Yes, 7 can go into 9 this time. So 7 will go into 9 one time. So we did our division. Next step, multiply. Multiply what times what? Well, we multiply the last number we put up here by the divisor. 1 times 7 is 7. So we've completed our multiplication. Now we subtract. 9, take away 7, gives me 2. Bring down, there's a number I can bring down. Yes, I can bring the 3 down. Since I brought something down, then I start over again, which means I go back and divide. Divide what into what? Well, we always divide the divisor, which is 7, into the last numbers that we have down here. So we divide 7 into 23. 7 will go into 23. Let's see, 7 and 7 is 14. 14 and 7. So will go in 3 times. So I've divided. Now I multiply. And what do I multiply? What times what? Always multiply the last number I put up here, multiplied by the divisor. So 3 times 7, 21. So now I've completed my multiplication. Now I subtract. 3 take away 1 is 2. 2 take away 2 is 0, so I don't have to do anything now. Can I bring down? Yes, I have the 1 I can bring down. Well, since I brought something down, then I have to start over again and divide. Divide what into what? Well, we divide the divisor into the last number that was put down here. 7 goes into 21 3 times. So we've divided. Now I multiply. And I multiply the last number I put up here by the divisor. 3 times 7 is 21. I've multiplied, now I subtract. 0, nothing to bring down, so the problem is over. So 7 divided into 931 is 133. Well, here's an interesting problem. I have to divide the number 6 into the number 1. Well, the first step is to divide, but 6 cannot go into the number 1, because 6 is way bigger than the number 1. But what I can do, because the number 1 is really 1 with the decimal point in an infinite number of zeros going this way. So now I can divide 6 into 1.000. And when I'm dividing using a decimal like that, I'll make sure I put the decimal right above here. Well, then it's just a regular division problem. 6 divided into 1, I can't do that. 6 won't go into 1, so that's 0. But 6 can go into 10. And 6 can go into 10 one time. So now I've done my division. Now I multiply. And I always multiply the number, last number I put up here, by the divisor. 1 times 6 is 6. Then I subtract. 10, take away 6 is 4. Now I bring down, I can bring the 0 down. After I bring down, I start over. I divide, and I always divide the divisor into the last number down here. So 6 will go into 40. How many times? I know 6 times 6 is 36. So it'll go 6 times. So I've divided. Now I multiply. 6 times 6 is 36. And now I subtract. 40, take away 36. Becomes 10. So it'll be 4. And I bring down the 0. And I can go on, but this is fine too. So 6 divided into, remember the problem we started out with was 6 divided into 1. Well, 6 divided into 1 is 16 hundredths. That's the answer, 16 hundredths. But whether you're dividing with decimals or just dividing regular numbers, this is the process that you use. This is the process that you use. So I'd like you